Okay, looks like I'm live. Okay, guys, I'm ready. Hello, everybody. I'm Sudha Jamthe, and here we are at Sudha Live, another Friday, end of the week. And we are here to talk about AI opportunities. I'm joining you from Silicon Valley. For those of you who are joining from Asia, from your morning on a weekend, I really appreciate it. And those of you who are wrapping up the week with me towards the end of Friday, I can be more thankful because that's what I'm doing here too. So if you're used to my other live streams or my other activities, this one is where I am going to talk to you about AI opportunities. And what does that mean? Jobs, events, fellowships, call for papers. But I also do a wrap up of the week on AI and pick something that I've been working on, share about some of my projects with these opportunities, but I also analyze the topic that's latest in my radar. I tend to go towards a topic and work on projects, maybe for 3 months or 6 months, lead to a class or a book or some talk, or some kind of conference paper or something. So that's where you will see where my latest projects are. So first, let me start with the elephant in the room, the sentient AI. Not going to talk about it, has been talked about by everybody, and not my cup of tea. I don't think AI is sentient. And if you really, really work with AI, you will know it is not sentient. But the ironic thing is, this week, I was teaching online AI ethics at Barcelona Technology School for masters in product management class. And I teach AI ethics, different aspects of AI ethics for 4 different master's programs for Barcelona Technology School. And I usually adapt it based on the program. So this was a product management team. So you'll know why I'm talking to you about that in a minute. If I talk to you about the big data masters class, I would get a little bit more hands-on. I've talked to the digital transformation leadership class, then I would kind of up level to more of a AI ethics, the business dimension and business models and things like that, or data ethics in some cases. Usually I cover responsible AI for most everybody, but for product management, responsible AI was a very important theme. So why am I bringing that when I'm talking about the sentient AI and that AI is not sentient? We had a discussion about what AI everybody has worked with. These are digital transformation leaders. They're either working on some kind of product management function, want to arm themselves with a master's degree and then go into a leadership role with product management, or they're making a career pivot to product management. And so they have experience with product management in some sense, or they're building products or technology digitization. Diverse set of students from every possible country and every possible industry. So an interesting discussion came about chatbots. And chatbots are used for automation in industry. And I had one student who had worked with it extensively in scale, but the discussion was, we're using chatbots, we're using a tool and we're automating things. That's really not AI. So here I was reading all this stuff about AI is becoming sentient and people arguing towards that. And the discussion was based on somebody having a conversation with this AI as a chatbot. And here I went to this class, and these brilliant people who are real business practitioners and product managers who are questioning whether chatbot should even be considered in the AI bucket. So it was very interesting. So one of the things I did do is I like to get people to come up with answers on their own instead of being very prescriptive about things. So one of the things I did was we covered confusion matrix. And for those of you who want a refresher, AI is always making predictions. AI is not going to give you a very prescriptive answer for anything. And so if you say this face is this Sudha's face, it's doing facial recognition. Or if you're doing some kind of machine learning and saying, okay, what is the next best click for my customer for this marketing campaign, it will say 78% probability it is going to be an email campaign. So everything is a probability. So it's making guesses, which means there's going to be mistakes, right? So it is not 100% certain. And so whenever an AI is built, it will have false positives, false negatives, and true positive and true negative. So that's four combination possible. And so that box of what percentage is, these four is the confusion matrix. And every data scientist, when they build AI, is going to know that. And so when an AI is given to you, be it a chatbot from a vendor or any other tool, you can actually take a sample set of data that is representative to your customers and then try it out and say, it's supposed to give this answer. Did it give the right answer? Did it say yes? It's supposed to say yes. It's supposed to say no. Did it say no? And you map the true, false, and the confusion matrix. And you can get a sense of how accurate is the AI. What does this all translate to in simple English? You basically find out how often is the AI going to say yes. And out of the times it says yes, what percentage of it is correct? And that's called the accuracy. So how often it says yes is the recall, and what percentage of that is accurate is the accuracy. So from a product management perspective, it means you have to think about when it is going to give false positives and false negatives. That's not what you're expecting. And you're going to hurt the customer in some form. You're definitely not delighting the customer with false positive and false negative. Which is more important from a use case perspective, and what do you do with it? What kind of customer experience? Do you escalate that to a human at that point, or do you lead them to some kind of standard answer or send them somewhere, right? That's the experience that you're going to create for them. And which is more important, the false positives or the false negative, would depend on the application you're building. So coming back to chatbots, I gave them this chatbot. Hold on, let me share the screen. I gave this example of a chatbot confusion matrix for a chatbot. So when you build a chatbot, you're going to get a chatbot. You're going to talk to it. Now, when you talk to it, and this is not a having a conversation of whether the AI is sentient. It is a bank customer support chatbot, and you're saying, hey, I asked for account balance. Is it giving me account balance? 11 times it said yes. But once when I was asking for account balance, it gave me disposable. When I'm asking for interest rate, 9 times it gave me interest rate. One time it answered something which is about overdraft. So you basically take example, you chat with it and expect it to give a certain answer, and it gives and capture whether it is giving the right response that you expect, or you capture when it gives you wrong response. So all the right responses are in yellow, and the wrong response, number of wrong response is in red. And this is how you would get, and you use any kind of chatbot tool and you look at the analytics of the tool, this is the output you would get. And this is the confusion matrix of false positive, false negative. And you say, this is true, it's positive, it says yes, this is what it's supposed to say, this is what it says, it's a true positive. And here it is incorrect. And you capture those and you say what percentage of times is it incorrect. That becomes your precision or accuracy, and recall is how much times it's saying yes. And then you can say, okay, it seems to have a problem when we say mobile banking, it is actually giving disposable. Why is it doing that? And then you drill deeper. So this is the analytics side of chatbots. So I wanted to share that for those of you who are like thinking of the sentient AI, or those of you who are thinking chatbot is just an automation tool, it's not an AI. Here is a way of looking at this. And when you use any kind of no-code AI platforms to build chatbots, because chatbots especially is available in no-code AI for forms from many, many, many different vendors. Then you get this as the analytics when you test it out, and then you can play with this and say, okay, now I kind of fine tune it and get to a higher accuracy and give it to the kind of experience that the customer want. So with that, let's close out the topic of the sentient AI and the chatbot. And talking of no-code AI, I want to tell you a little bit about, I have 2 topics on no-code AI, but before I forget, let me tell you about the last weekly Wednesday, because it is more relevant to this topic that we are having here. So so for those of you who are new here, no-code AI is where My students come together, my student alums come together. I teach at Stanford, I teach at Business School of AI, I teach at Barcelona Technology School, as I was telling you. And my students, after they finish, they're brilliant people who are out to change the world. They love innovation, and they're working with AI or autonomous vehicles or any of the dimensions of AI. And they love innovation. And they come together and they want the latest, greatest tech. They want to know all dimensions of it. And so we have a speaker series that's been going on for, I want to say 6 years, maybe 5 years, on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. my time in California, which is 18 hours in Nigeria and Europe, and 1 p.m. in Brazil. And for an hour, we would have a speaker and we would have a discussion and on a predetermined topic that we prepare ahead of time with the speaker and stuff. And my students get to sit in a Zoom session and do a Q&A. We also live stream it in multiple places. So if you're following me on LinkedIn, you'll see that actually it is streamed on to Business School of AI on LinkedIn. So if you want to follow that, just follow Business School of AI page on LinkedIn, and it will stream every weekly Wednesday for you. So this particular speaker, so if you want to get the recording of that each week, so then you can sign up for it. Let me give you the secret path for it. 1 second. bit.ly/weekly web event. Let me share my screen. We go. So it's bit. Do you see this link? So bit.ly/weekly web event. If you do this, it will take you to Business School of AI, and you can sign up, and then you'll get to see, what is this? You'll get a lot of other links. You will get, some sample ones even before signing up. You can see all that. This is Vera Serdigova was talking about machine learning on the edge. And we periodically do some kind of joint events with amazing other people globally. And this one we did with IoT Sense Makers Amsterdam. So you would see a bunch of these, but the interesting thing is once you sign up, you will see a curriculum section. I'm going to show you the curriculum section because you'll get that only when you sign up. And in the curriculum section, you will see the recording of past week. So since we've done this for 4 or 5 years, we periodically clean it up and organize it. So you'll at least see like a year plus content in here. So the last week, this Wednesday, we had Tiago Felipe Avanci from Brazil. In fact, he's Dr. Tiago Felipe Avanci. He's a doctorate PhD who's doing his second PhD. He's this brilliant person who teaches law in many colleges. And he's also focused on AI ethics. And he was interviewed by Divya Dwivedi, who is a attorney or a lawyer in the Supreme Court of India. And it was such a fun conversation. Of course, this whole topic of sentient AI did show up. So if you're very curious about it, you can listen to that, but I'm not going to focus on that. But I want you to give you a snippet. Here is Tiago with the right spelling.
Constitution of each country. Each country has a constitutional system. India has a beautiful constitution, and in which precisely I was talking last week by Parolo University. Thank you for they having me here, having me there at that session. And India has his constitution. Brazil has his constitution. US has have his constitution. Every country has a constitutional system, and in this constitutional system there is some basis that relies directly from the culture of that society. That constitution emerges from this society, and in this constitution we have fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are connected with our constitution. The human rights are very, very much important, but they are not connected directly with the constitutions worldwide in the different countries. The human rights are connected with international treaties, international documents. What I am saying is we must have a more country-based agenda constitutional agenda, align with our constitutional values than to general outside international agenda, international values that perhaps doesn't mean anything for all our own cultural identity, our identity as a country, and all this. And that's precisely what I believe, my friend. The constitutional values are very much important for us. The constitutional values and are the part of our cultural aspect, our own society. And naturally, some of those will be aligned naturally with the international values, the international principles in general of artificial intelligence and any other topic as well. But we must to be very proud of our personal values, our own cultural values. They means a lot, and sometimes we forget this. We have received some values, some principles from outside, and we use it as without even thinking. Actually, Diva, you are a part of our talking here in Brazil, our discussing here in Brazil about our own AI bill that we have. We are still in debate here in Brazil about this. You were a part of this debate last year with me and with so many other fantastic persons. And that's precisely what I'm saying. We must not have something done, packaged, and delivered for us and applied it on our own reality without even realizing what it's all about. Nice. And that's it, Diva.
Okay. So we had a fun discussion on local versus global aspect of AI. We focused a little bit on language models, but this discussion became a broader artificial intelligence policy and bill and regulation, what countries should do, and what should be global and what should be local. So that's a fantastic discussion. So definitely check it out on Weekly Wednesday. And I believe we've just opened up this conversation. You know, there's a discussion on the sentient AI because somebody came and asked questions about the sentient AI. So, I had this question about, you know, AI when it is creating content with the new BERT and GPT-3 and DALI, and there is so much content that is created by AI. There are applications that are created by AI, and there was a co-author application that was shared at Stanford HAI last week. So I was just asking, who owns that content? If an article is created or an image is created, who has the copyright of that when it is created by AI? And I don't think there is one standard acceptance or on the ownership from everybody around the globe. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm just asking questions. And I know at least in the autonomous vehicle world, who is liable for something when something goes wrong. And then the discussion is the hardware layer, the software layer, the LiDAR and the sensor fusion that comes in, who's the vendor for various things. And there's a lot of finger pointing on various different vendors. And it's not treated like the autonomous vehicle is an AI. It doesn't have to be sentient. That's one AI that is driving us autonomously. And we are all going towards that, right? That the smart home is going to have one AI and the car is going to have one AI. And there are companies who are trying to kind of make the transition to stay with us across different contexts and have one AI, in that case, who owns the content that's created, who's liable for things. So these are interesting questions that lawyers can answer, or they're having discussions. And this was one such discussion. I'm hoping that we can bring Divya Dwivedi another time, because she was asking the questions of Tiago Avanci. I'm hoping that she can come back and talk to us. and help us understand the foundation of this. And I believe that all of you, especially if you're doing product management, if you're working on AI in various different dimensions, this becomes important because you have to bake that into the AI that you're building, into the AI that you're buying, the AI solutions that you're building with that, or you're part of some room. You might be reviewing a research paper, or you might be mentoring somebody to get into this space. So it's not just about the model. It's about how you bring all these dimensions to make AI do the right thing. So there's a lot of power and responsibilities. That's a common thing that you've all heard. I tell my students, there's a lot of power and responsibility when you build AI or something that foundational. Even some IoT, I think, gives you that power, but I think AI is kind of powering a lot of it. And so data and AI, when you work with it, you have so much power. So it's important to understand the different dimensions. So if you've been to the Weekly Wednesday, we love your feedback. We take feedback every single week, and we take that very seriously. If you're new, come back, join us, and hopefully, we'll have fun with your input, and we learn together. And with that, I want to go back to the no-code AI topic that I started jumping into ahead of time, because the next week's topic is going to be no-code AI. And we're trying something new because Yash, you host the Weekly Wednesday, but I want more of my students also involved in Weekly Wednesday. Let me find that first. So let me share my screen again. So this is Dimitro Palamarchuk, who is one of my students from Stanford, and he's chief product officer who's based out of Zurich. And he's going to come and do a demo of a no-code AI platform that he uses. It's a different one than the one that I've been talking along. And I've demoed Accio, I've demoed IBM Watson, Teachable Machine with Google, a whole bunch of them, right? But this is a new one, and I've not tried it. And Dimitro has worked on building a solution with it. And so it's a very different client perspective of using no-code AI to build a solution with AI. And he's going to come and talk about his product and show a no-code AI demo of this. So it'll be a very different kind of Weekly Wednesday. We try to keep diversity of topics and perspective and people from all different countries. So Divya from India was interviewing Tiago Avanci from Brazil, and next week's speaker is from Zurich. He's actually he's actually I think he's an immigrant in Zurich, and he is originally from Ukraine. And so he has an interesting story there. The perspective that he brings is just amazing. So I'm excited to hear that. So Weekly Wednesday, come join us. And all the links that I've been sharing here, I will have it shared on our newsletter. So let me give you that link. So it is bit.ly/Jamthe newsletter, my last name, Jamthe newsletter. And if you want, you can sign up, and then you'll get that emailed on Sunday morning, I think 9 o'clock. If not, you bookmark this link, bit.ly/Jamthe newsletter, come back, and you will see the link of this Sudha Live, and also all the links shared there. More interesting, jobs and events, all kinds of things, a bunch of new jobs and links, everything would be here, right? And I started adding some kind of reading recommendation, and I have, some of my recent projects that we are working on. So if you can collaborate with me or my student team and things like that, okay? So that's where you can go if you're hearing this and you say it's overwhelming, a lot of different topics she's talking. I talked to you about the Weekly Wednesday, the chatbot, and the one short message. There's no AI is not sentient, but it's creating business value, and there is product management jobs and roles and responsibilities of what you can do. And then I gave you a little glimpse of no-code AI, what to expect from next Weekly Wednesday speaker. And here's where we are. And other than this, I have been talking about NeurIPS, And there's a Global South Language Model Meetup that I'm going to be hosting at NeurIPS. And the idea is we will have a call for paper. Today is the 17th of June. So in a week's time, I would be coming up with a call for paper. And we want to bring language models. It could be, voice related, or it could be a model for a different language, NLP model or BERT or GPT-3, the new OPT 175B from Facebook, which is competition to GPT-3 but doesn't require the API, or it could be something else, or it could be like Carolina Guzman has shared with us at IoT Day, that she's working on getting data from for Colombia. She started this for Colombia, and she wants to get data for risk management for financial banking applications and the like, which is not which is local and relevant to that business practices, or on how businesses operate, or small businesses operate, individuals operate, so that the loans are given in an equitable fashion, and not with a different Western lens where people get rejected because they don't have credit history, things like that, right? So she's working on a data set on that to build out a public data set. So she's going to be part of this Global South language model meetup, and I'm hoping she will help us figure out how to bring Spanish language model in a very problem-solving lens with this finance dimensions she's looking. So it could be a pure language model that you're saying you have the GPT-3 for various languages that it's available today, and here I'm making GPT-3 for Tamil language or Hausa language, and it could be any of them, or it could be it could be a language model, it could be data for language model, it could be a totally different dimension, or it could be something related to voice. I'm very passionate about voice and accents. Tejumade Afunja works on voice related deep learning models, and so I'm very excited. The possibilities are lots, endless, I want to say limitless, but given that NeurIPS is in December, we will have a call for paper that will go out next week. We expect to have 5 posters from 5 or 6 posters is my hope from the Global South, covering the Global South. So at least 2 from Africa, 2 from Latin America, 2 from Asia is kind of my ideal expectation as of now, but I'm very, very open. So if you're working on language models with any group, I want to collaborate with you. If you're working on anything related to language or the Global South languages related to language model or data in any form, like decolonizing data or anything else, just ping me. I'm happy to talk to you. So you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Business School of AI, you can find me on Weekly Wednesday, you can reply back to my newsletter. There's so many ways by which you can connect back with me. So I'm looking forward to that. Otherwise, you can submit respond to the call for paper with your idea, and then maybe you'd be one of the people we'll be collaborating with. So that's my hope. That's one of the projects that I'm picking up. So you'll see me talk a lot about language models and getting towards linguistics. That's not my core field. So I'm going to be asking more questions till I find answers. The other thing is I have been working on this Notre Dame grant that I received along with Dr. Charles Icahn. Let me show you. This is the Tech Ethics Lab. Let me see if that's the page I got. Yes, this is the Tech Ethics Lab from Notre Dame. So it's the Notre Dame IBM Tech Ethics Lab, and this is the general site. I'm trying to find the list of grants. Yes, that's the page. Thank you, guys. Okay, so they had a call for paper early in the year, and the grants were issued, and so I'm one of those people. Me and Charles Icahn, Dr. Charles Icahn, who works on AIX with me, we got one of those grantees, and so out of 100 proposals, so it's very humbling. And we had our meeting with the remaining with the rest of the other fellow grantees. So it was very, very humbling. And we're working towards that. So we are working on, so these are different topics, and this artificial justice, and Africa's policy readiness towards responsible AI. I had a conversation with Eric Otino just this morning in our group conversation. It's very interesting. So when you talk about building responsible AI, Eric said something that stuck with me. Should policy creators, should they be holding the algorithms to be accountable, or should they be holding the people who create the algorithms to be accountable? What should be the approach of how we should do that? And then here we have people who are working on social media and games related to children. There's such a wide variety of topics and research that has been done from so many different countries. This was amazing. So this is another team. I hope to be following up on that. Where is our paper? I'm trying to get to that here. So it's called Ethics Experiment on Designing Character for AI. So those of you who have taken my class or heard me speak about this, or read my book on AIX, I have this AIX framework for building, for designing artificial intelligence to design AI with agency for humans. So how do you genderize the AI? How do you personalize the AI? What is the tone of conversations? When does it take control? When does it, proactively give you advice and things like that? So that is all part of my existing AIX framework. And I worked with Charles Icahn to build that original framework. And so what we did now is we said, okay, what if we could build a character as a foundation for any AI? If you're going to start building an AI, how about if we define character with values, and those values are ethical values of transparency, trust, and trust or fairness, any of those as the foundation. And then you build the personality, the behavior, and all that on top of it in UX design. So this is specifically for UX design, but it was a theoretical framework, and I teach that, and I have people who are working on that. So what we are doing with this grant is we are creating an experiment with real data to prove that an AI that is designed using a character is more trustworthy than an AI that is built without the character foundation. And we're going to use data, and we're going to go show that empirically that it is, more viable, more trustworthy. So that's where we are going with that. There are other amazing people I'm hoping I just got introduced to, and I'm hoping to learn from their work. So if this is of interest to you, I would recommend you check out this and, follow these people. I hope that, I might be able to bring some of them to Weekly Wednesday to have a conversation. So if there's somebody here that jumps at you and you feel like you would like us to invite to Weekly Wednesday, I would definitely suggest that. I have shared the work of Ravit Dotan from University of Pittsburgh, and would definitely recommend following Ravit Dotan. So with that, I'm going to get out of this. And I remember another topic on venture capital. Let me find that link. I found that on June 30th, there is a Africa Venture Founder for Climate Change opportunity. Let me see if I can find that. How to become a venture founder, and you can apply for that at FSD Africa. So I'll be sharing that link. Let me see if I can find it for you right now. And I will be sharing all these on the newsletter. Plus, if you want, if you're here, if you tell me, I can add a comment on LinkedIn also. This is being streamed on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, but I usually come back to LinkedIn. Sometimes I come to Twitter if people are asking questions, and I'll come and respond. So if you want that information, you can ask me. So let me share the link here. So it is bfaglobal.com/teka, and it is launching FinTech Ventures for Climate Resilience. And this is the amazing people and their work, and it's, Africa centric, and they seem to have a huge community and whatnot. I'm not part of it yet. I just found this as an opportunity that I wanted to share with you. And they have this thing called Become a Venture Founder. And I believe June 30th is the deadline for that. The applications are closing on June 30th. It's a 6-month program for individuals who are passionate about launching ventures for climate resilience. So don't miss out that opportunity. Yeah. Okay. What else have I got for you here? Let me check. When I was talking about the BTS, the Barcelona Technology School Masters in Product Management class, one of my favorite topic came back again, which is product managers are many different roles under one bucket. You know, in Silicon Valley, we say product manager is the CEO of the customer, and we are very consumer centric in software approach in what we do in Silicon Valley. And then if you look at an enterprise company, they're going to have a different kind of role for product managers. And then I had students from UK and they said, no, we have product owner roles different from product managers. And then there are project managers who take care of the execution version aspect of product management. So they based on whether it is consumer or enterprise, you're going to have differences. Whether in geography based, you're going to have differences. And in AI specifically, are you building the technology and you're going to launch it as an API and platform technology? Is that your product? Or are you going to buy a product license, an API from somebody, and then you're going to go build a product for your client? And then it's a very different thinking. So let me give you a specific example. There was this case where Uber said, we are going to use facial recognition to allow our users to identify themselves to open the app. So it was biometrics. And it's known that the facial recognition technology that we have from all the top companies in US is not ready for prime time. And in fact, they've been banned by the US government in US government contracts. And but they're trying to improve. Some of them are still continuing to work on it. And so Uber said, we're going to use this. Anyway, they made a decision. So there's a PM in Uber, or a PM team, who decided to build the driver app and decided biometrics is going to be by facial recognition. And then somewhere they made this rule that when the facial recognition app doesn't work, it means the driver is not the right person. They believe the AI blindly. So when it gave a false positive, they said, this must be somebody else. And so then the driver has to escalate, call them and say, no, it's me, it's not working for me. And after it does that for 5 times, they're saying, hey, you're not being responsible in using your app, you're giving your phone to somebody else. And so we boot you out of the system. And they did this to some driver, and he happened to be Black, and the facial recognition system failed for Black person's face. And so in this case, there is the PM who made this decision of using an API and built this as biometric and made some decisions on booting up the user or how to deal with the false positive and false negative. Maybe the design team was also involved in that. The UX design team was involved in that. Then there is the UI. Then there is the PM from the technology company. In this case, they use Microsoft's Face API, and Microsoft Face API will they have their own PM who made the fundamental API, and they trained it. And that is where they had a bias, and they did not have enough Black people's faces. And so it creates a bias for a Black person. And so when somebody who was testing it might not have been Black, or it might have worked for them in whatever light and hair and other setting that they have, and it passed for Uber. And so now there are 2 different PM roles. And so it's important for you to know, are you making the build versus buy decision and getting an API, and you're actually going to model the AI to build an application or a solution, or are you building the AI to go create a fundamental model that you're going to make it available as an API? So technology, you work in a technology company, or you work in technology in another business. So that's a fundamental difference. So there's so many dimensions of thinking about the PM role. So I think it makes it very exciting, and it gives you room for those of you who want to career pivot and get into AI, want to move into product management. This gives you opportunity. You can just, find a gap and say, okay, now I know to do buy versus build decisions and do that, or, make yourself, bring your experience from wherever you're coming from to go, find your role in this, because there's so many nuances to the role. There are different kind of PM roles, so you can get in one or the other. Okay. I shared some product management jobs and product management leadership jobs last week. They're still open. I did offer that any of my students who are interested in following up and in applying, I'm happy to help them. So I will definitely do that. And before I close out, the last thing I want to share is July 7th. I know it is way out there, and you might, one second, let me check. There is a July 7th, there is an event. I thought I had the page ready here. I tried to open a lot of windows ready for you guys. So there is a Connected Future Transportation Systems event, which is run out of UK. So it's early morning for my time, finishing, I think, between 6 and 9 my time, which is in UK time, evening time, 14 hour in UK time, or 15 hour in Europe, CET, or Nigeria time zone. So I'm going to be speaking there. And they've been doing this many rounds, so you can go check out their past sessions and topics and speakers. It's fascinating stuff. It focuses specifically on transportation, not just autonomous vehicles, like I always keep talking about connected future transport systems. That's the name of the conference. And specifically, I have come up with the topic based on my interest, always about AIX and, design, and my work with the AV, inclusive AI and the like. My topic is called Digital Pedestrians Conversation with Digital Transportation. So cool. Digital pedestrian is us, and the autonomous vehicle is, or the vehicle with the ADAS, or digitized bikes and rideshare vehicles, or even rails, or the robot. Do you remember the robot from Amsterdam with MIT partnership that they did? It's a autonomous boat, which kind of lines up and becomes a bridge. So there's a lot of possibilities. That's the world of future of transportation. Does it interact with us? How can it interact with us? What is the digitization of the human that is going to interact with us? Specifically, I'm talking about the digital pedestrian. So I'm not talking about the robot. I'm talking about the car or the truck or the vehicle on the road. And we as digital pedestrians, where do we come in? How does the connected vehicle interact with us? And it goes back to my current work with this whole language models and NLP and voice and the AIX and human interface, and making it inclusive and not taking agency from humans. And all my current work is kind of lined up in the same direction. So I thought this was exciting to talk about that. So that's on July 7th. I shared the link, and I'm happy to share that back on the newsletter, and bit.ly/Jamthe newsletter. And here's my last name, Jamthe newsletter. And if you're already not part of it, come check it out or sign up, and hopefully you'll be there and we'll have some fun conversations. So with that, I believe I have shared everything that I have lined up for you today. And I wanted to finish by 45 because I've been doing this, this has been going longer than I planned usually. I have one more thing. So there is Automated Buildings is a beautiful site, a magazine, Automated Buildings, and I guess right post there. Here, let me show you Automated Buildings. So this is automatedbuildings.com, and I'm part of the editorial team where I contribute articles periodically. So this is list of articles that I have contributed in the past. And this time, this is run by Ken Sinclair. He's an amazing person in the automated building space. You might recognize some other people who are writing there. You might have seen them at IoT Day. You might have seen them at Weekly Wednesday. That's worth checking. It's a very smart group of people who are automating buildings, and it became bigger deal with the whole pandemic when we got grounded and buildings kind of went quiet and we had to go and work. Machinery was there, so there's a lot of automation got accelerated in that world. So Ken comes up with an amazing theme each time, and this time he has the theme of ESG. So that is where I'm thinking about it. So ESG is environmental, social, and governance are the three central factors. So environmental is like waste pollution and deforestation, climate justice that we talked about, the opportunity in Africa, greenhouse gas emission, all of that comes under environmental. Social is like we are going back to work. How do we manage the working conditions? General health and safety or diversity. If you bring an AI in the workplace, there's this conversations about, is the AI monitoring us, or is our manager able to monitor us because we're using Zoom, and there are some tools for that. So that's the social criteria. And then the governance is, corruption, tax strategy, and that kind of stuff. Executive payment and all that stuff. So I'm talking about AI. And so I'm thinking about AI, and I write articles related to AI or AV generally. So Ken wants us to focus on ESG. So I'm thinking about writing on something related to AI and ESG. I could just pick climate justice because it's an easy topic. I've covered related to IoT. I've covered a lot of waste and pollution and smart agriculture, deforestation, and stuff like that. So I didn't want to do an IoT topic. So I'm thinking about this. So if you have any idea, if you're working in the space related to automated buildings and ESG, I would love to hear from you. I want to see what topic you would like to hear. Anything that I've already been talking about. Is there something related to building space? Are you working on something that I could potentially reference back? And I will make sure that if you mention something, that I will cite that. That's how it is done, because it's a publication. But other than that, I would recommend, this is for the next issue in July, and you should just check out automated buildings, because there's going to be a lot of articles on ESG, and not just AI, but building automation and ESG. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. I will see you at the newsletter if you're going to follow up and have any interaction. If you're working on the language models, look out for the call for paper from me coming up, and I will be announcing that in the newsletter, not this Sunday, but hopefully the next Sunday or next weekly Wednesday. If you can line it up, I'll have it ready for the Global South Language Model Meetup at IPS. It's so exciting. And if you're working on any of these, I want to collaborate with you. Even if you're not ready to come up and do a poster, or whatever your area of focus, I would love to work with you, because I want as much diversity as possible, variety of different topics, so we can, start working towards that. Like the call per paper is going to go till August. So and we're going to take people on a first come first serve basis and start working on it, because that's my goal, to wrap this up, at least the skeleton of what we are doing by August end, or by fall. And then I'll have to teach class again back in Stanford and other places. So I would love to do this and stay in the research mode in summer, and then work with you. So talk to me, send me referrals. Even if you have questions and say, is this relevant? Is this something? Talk to me. And otherwise, I'll see you at Weekly Wednesday, or at Dimitro's No Code AI talk. And if you're one of my students, if you are interested in the No Code AI topic, that's relevant to you, if you want to interview Dimitro, you could do that. I'm looking to engage more of my students to talk to my speakers, instead of Yash just overloaded with this all the time. She loves this, but I just wanted to see. She'll be hosting it, but if you want to come and do the interview, if that topic is relevant to you, we'll give you an opportunity. So talk to me. So language model, you can collaborate with me. If the No Code AI, you can just show up and listen, or you can come and talk to me. Yeah, the ESG and AI, that's in building automation related. If that's interest, talk to me. If you're applying for any of the jobs that I'm sharing, I can make a referral maybe. I don't always know the hiring managers, but at least I can give you advice if you're looking at AI product management or something like that. And the topics that I'm sharing on my newsletter, that's of interest, I'm happy to collaborate. Otherwise, I'll see you at any of my events. Otherwise, I will see you next week here at Sudha Live. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Have a fabulous weekend. Stay safe. We still have the war in Ukraine going on, so let's not become immune to it. And the least we can do is share that information. So, please share anything you see related to Ukraine, because we don't want to kind of normalize that. There's one more war happening. And with that, I'm going to wrap up. Stay safe, and I will see you all soon. Bye.